It was one of those mornings where everything just felt like it belonged right where it was supposed to be, you know? That kind of crisp mountain air that hits you so fresh in the chest, you can't help but remember you're alive, and maybe a little bit lucky too. I still had the smell of pine and sawdust clinging to my flannel from yesterday's project, sanding down a walnut desk for the local vet's office. My shop humming with the sound of honest work. That kind of tired that sinks right into your knuckles and somehow leaves you proud. That morning, like always, I took my usual ride out after breakfast. Ellie, me wife, the one with more brains and backbone than anyone I've met, handed me a thermos of black coffee, giving me that look that says, "Don't get lost chasing raccoons again." I laughed, but she wasn't wrong. I have a habit of losing track of time when I'm in the woods. So, there I was, loading up the ATV and heading toward the North Ridge, cutting through the pines, rolling past the old creek, past the spot where elk sometimes wander down in the fall if you're lucky enough to catch them. I'd been meaning to check the boundary markers up on the upper slope, just routine stuff. We'd had some folks camp without asking the year before, and I like to keep the lines tight, keep the mountain honest. That's when I saw it. At first, I thought I was losing my mind. There was something shiny, geometric, out where it should have been just rocks and scrub. I rolled in closer, and my heart just dropped hard. Right there, in the middle of my property, stood a house. Not a little hunting shack, not even a trailer, but a full-blown luxury cottage wraparound deck, stone columns, huge windows, the kind that scream money to burn or someone's overcompensating. It was tucked into the woods like it had every right to be there, and let me tell you, it looked fresh, sawdust still scattered across the porch, windows not even cleaned yet. Whoever put this thing up did it quick and quiet, no permits, no calls, nobody asking, and sure as hell not on land they owned. I know every square inch of this mountain, and this place was deep into my property, like several acres deep. I pulled out my phone, checked the GPS overlays, triple-checked the parcel maps, every digital note I'd ever made. No mistake, it was all mine. And listen, this wasn't my first rodeo. 20 years out here, you see everything: surveyors getting creative, guys in bad suits wanting to buy you out for pennies, even someone once trying to claim my fence was on public land. Through all that, I learned one thing: you handle it fast, clean, and with proof. So, I didn't leave a note or call the county or try to be neighborly. I called Ellie. She picked up on the second ring, already suspicious. "It's not a bear in the garage again, is it?" "Worse," I said. "Someone built a vacation house on the north slope." There was a beat of silence. Then, "You're joking." "I wish. Bring the drone and backup battery." And she was there in less than an hour, paralegal instincts still sharp from her old life in Denver, treating our land like a legal fortress. While she set up the drone, calibrating the camera, I stood in front of the house with every deed, boundary dock, and laminated map I owned, recording a clear monologue on video. Who I was, where we were, and what this house was doing here. I made it plain. If by some miracle I was wrong, I'd own it. But I wasn't. I called two friends next: Joe, a mechanic whose arms look like tree trunks, and Tom, a retired Army bomb tech turned structural inspector who can read concrete like a map. "We got a structure to remove," I told them. "Bring the machines. 2 excavators, 1 rented, 1 borrowed out here. Nobody asks for details. Just get it back by Sunday." By afternoon, the machines were snaking up the trail. Ellie was flying the drone, circling overhead, and the sun was already dipping low. I didn't care who'd built the place or how they thought they'd get away with it. I just knew one thing. This was my mountain. Nobody builds here but me. The first crack in the deck sounded like the mountain itself exhaling, and I'll admit, I felt something, maybe not joy or vengeance, but a deep, slow satisfaction, like the world was setting itself right. Tom and Joe worked surgical, not swinging steel wildly, but taking the place down piece by piece, like this was any other cleanup job. I kept sipping my coffee. The drone buzzed overhead, and then I heard the engine. Not an old truck, not a neighbor's Subaru, but a white Porsche. Out steps a woman in heels and a pantsuit, platinum bob, sunglasses, expensive purse every bit out of place as a cocktail dress at a cattle auction. She looked at the half-destroyed house and then at me, eyes blazing. "What the hell is going on?" she demanded. I raised my cup, cool as I could manage. Afternoon. You lost. She snapped. That's my home. Joe killed the machine. Tom paused. Bucket in the air. Everyone waiting. I walked up slow, not wanting to spook her, looking more like a shop teacher than a threat. Ma'am, that house is smack in the middle of my property. No permits, no nothing. I checked this morning and made the call. She took off her sunglasses like she was about to bless me with wisdom. I'm Karen Whitmore, president of the Elk Hollow HOA. I have every right to build here. Well, Karen, I said, holding on to my patience. HOA rules stop at your boundary line. This land's been in my name for 20 years. You're about half a mile outside your jurisdiction. You might want to check with your surveyor. She stormed toward the machines, waving her arms. Stop! You're destroying private property. That's a felony. I stepped in her way. It's already coming down. I suggest you stand back before something lands on those shoes. And you're on drone footage, so unless you want trespassing on the list, I'd back up. She wasn't having it. Do you know how much that house cost? You're going to jail. Ellie joined me, still filming. Call your attorney, she said, calm as a lake in the morning. And maybe double-check your title before screaming about lawsuits. We've got footage, GPS, everything. Karen stared at her, then stormed off, dialing her phone, shouting, Get everyone up here now. Tom leaned over. We stopping? Nope. Let her make the next move. For a long stretch, the only sound was the machines and Karen pacing, fuming by her Porsche. But she wasn't done. 10, maybe 15 minutes later, another car bounced up the trail, big black Tahoe, city plates, 3 men piling out, all muscle and entitlement. One tall with a jaw you could break bricks on, another built like a linebacker, and the third silver hair and golf tan, Bluetooth in his ear. Karen sprinted up to them. They're tearing down my house, her voice breaking. Her husband, you could tell by the matching attitude, stepped up. Are you the guy who thinks he can destroy private property and get away with it? I'm the guy who owns this land, I said, voice steady. And my patience is running out. The tall one shoved me, no warning, just like that. I slipped, boots skidding on gravel. Before I could process it, Joe was off the machine, Tom right behind, and suddenly the woods turned into a middle-aged shoving match, grunting, yelling, grown men posturing. Not a brawl, more like too much pride and nowhere good for it to go. Ellie filmed the whole circus, drone and phone both running. Suddenly she called out, I've called the cops, gentlemen. You've got about 3 minutes to stop making idiots of yourselves. Karen was now filming too, aiming for her own angle, focusing on her husband, nearly tripping over the rubble. That's when the sirens tore up the trail, 3 sheriff's cruisers, lights blazing. Hands where we can see them. We froze, dirty, sweating, dignity scattered. They separated us, took statements, but here's the thing. Half those deputies already knew me, own bought a bench off me for his backyard. Another had me fix a filing cabinet last spring. They didn't play favorites, but they listened. Ellie handed over the drone footage, and when the sheriff saw the GPS overlays, his face shifted neutral to just plain tired. We'll need everyone down for processing, he said. Karen protested, her husband sputtered, but rules are rules. Spent the night in the ear, not my favorite, but nothing broken, just bruises and a cut lip. Tom and Joe got off easier. Karen's husband managed to sprain his knee in the retreat. Back home, Ellie already had the lawyer called, footage uploaded, and 3 legal articles in my inbox before I finished my soup. I figured it'd calm down, but this mountain had other ideas. Next morning, knock at the shop. 2 EPA guys, badges out, asking about hazardous materials improperly disposed of. We trailed them up to the demolished site, and wouldn't you know, there's a pile of debris, black bags, busted drywall, even barrels hidden just out of sight. Ellie didn't need to say it. She planted it, she muttered. No doubt in my mind. That night, Tom stopped by with a case of beer and a hard drive. You'll want to see this, he said. Turns out, his buddy Phil has trail cams just over the ridge. Pulled up a video. Karen's SUV, midnight, unloading construction waste. Hoodie with Elk Hollow HOA. Ellie smiled. We just got our counterpunch. Tom also brought a safety report. Turns out the foundation was a death trap, poured over unstable soil. If anyone had actually lived there through a wet season, the whole place would have slid downhill. Court wasn't my favorite place, but there we were. Karen in full drama, her husband scowling. The judge, all business. Karen's lawyer painted her as a visionary leader attacked by a mountain recluse. I had to bite my cheek not to laugh. Then Ellie presented the drone footage, GPS overlays, my on-camera monologue. Then the trail cam video, Karen's SUV, time-stamped, clear plate. Tom testified, credentials ironclad. Then came the kicker text logs where Karen told her contractor, get it done fast. He doesn't check Upper Ridge often. The judge wasn't buying Karen's tears. Did you file any permits? Did you have approval from the county? Karen stammered, blaming some friend and HOA discretionary zoning. The judge shot her down. This isn't HOA land. This isn't your right. She turned to me. Anything else? I stood steady. I don't like tearing things down, but when someone lies, builds on my land, attacks me, and dumps their trash hoping I take the fall, sometimes something's got to come down before it spreads rot. We left court not quite victorious, but close. Next day, the judge ruled full restitution, $350,000, including damages and defamation, and a referral to the DA for document falsification and evidence tampering. Karen gasped. Her husband slumped. The judge unmoved. By the end of the week, Karen was out as HOA president. Her husband gone from his law firm. County maps updated for good. Tom got a letter of commendation from the county. Joe and I took the excavator's home beers, laughs, a little ceremony. Ellie nailed a plank into a pine. Private property means private. A week later, Karen was arrested falsifying documents, illegal dumping, filing false reports, assault. Her husband, too. The tough guys charged with assault. I didn't bother with the arraignment. Ellie and I stayed home, split firewood, watched the sunset from our porch. Neighbors started stopping by, people I hadn't seen in months. Even some from the HOA side, shaking my hand. Never liked her either, just didn't know how to say it. Ellie started getting emails, journalists, folks asking for her documentation tips. One paper wanted to call it the HOA that went too far. Ellie grinned. I'll do it if I can title it, How to Remove Illegal Construction in One Afternoon. A month later, we threw a party bonfire, ribs, pie, laughter echoing off the trees. That clearing where the cottage stood, now open ground, fire pit in the middle, like we burned the last traces of arrogance right out of the dirt. Neighbors old, new, even a few former enemies pulled up chairs. Around midnight, Ellie raised a glass. To standing your ground, and making sure no one builds on it but you. And as we all drank, the mountain was quiet, like it finally agreed. Now, I've told you my side. Was I right? Was I just stubborn? Would you have done the same or let it go? That's the thing about living out here. Sometimes justice comes with splinters and bruises, but at least you can say you earned every inch. Let me know in the comments what you think about justice, about land, about where the line really is in a community like this.